Around the red buff right now, and Cherio and Darda's going to get forced out by inbound. That's a clean invade, but one buff invade makes not for a lead. You got to continually put on the pressure on the map, and that's going to be hard to do when you have a god like Kali out of the jungle. Her early game isn't strong. I mean, that's not breaking news to anybody. She needs that itemization to come online, whereas this Naja, it looks like he might be moving in towards the sledge a little bit earlier on, or maybe even a frostbound. He's going to go for a more utility-centric Naja build. That might just come online just way too quickly for Obey to deal with.
It's definitely going to be difficult, I think, overall for Sino. But, I mean, considering what we've seen out of him so far this phase, the Warriors definitely didn't seem to click overall in the jungle. So maybe it's going to be a safety pick, even if it is a late-game pick either way. The one thing that also catches my eye throughout all of this that Obey are bringing in, we had talked a little bit on the desk about the fact that Wolfie's bringing this Poseidon. Earlier today, you got to talk about it being kind of this ring auto-attack build, and already it looks like the start for a Ring of Hecate there for Wolfie. How are you feeling about seeing this and the way Poseidon has kind of escalated into this, even though he's not really known for his auto-attacks?
I think it's going to be very hard for Wolfie to get value out of a full auto-attack-centric build, but we've already seen even earlier on in the split that Final K took Hades into the solo lane and built Ring of Hecate on him, but didn't itemize fully towards that auto-attack build. I think if you want to build Ring of Hecate, it's a strong enough item stat stick that you can just stick it on just about any auto-attacking mage that is going to swing out a little bit, but it doesn't mean you have to completely pigeonhole yourself there. You can still go for items like Spear of Desolation, Soul Reaver, standard mage items, and just utilize that passive on Ring of Hecate to help you out with objectives, which is the build that I prefer to see on Poseidon. That said, if you do decide to go for the multiple rings and the Toxic Blade, you're going to have unparalleled amounts of mobility. It's going to be very hard to lock down this Poseidon, likely the fastest god in the game, and he's going to be able to find those Krakens a lot more easily, even if they are slightly less impactful.
Yeah, he do be zooming with that kind of build. He will get across the map, no problem. The only question then would be the impact of the Whirlpools, the Krakens, things like that, but we'll just have to lay and wait, see what Wolfie decides to do. It's the combination, I think, that Obey are bringing into this that is keeping me the most interested and maybe the most on my edge for this game, right? Ducky, we know what you can do with an Amaterasu, especially when she has a good game. We've seen what Kali can do at the top level, and even though it's maybe with a slightly different build, we've seen Poseidon, we've seen this Cupid really, really step forward, and now Sino trying to make sure he can get ahead. That Kraken's going to be enough damage from Wolfie just on the edge to clip Dardes there, and he's going to be able to lock him down. That's the way you want to start off the game, is getting that first one.
Especially considering they have a Kali out of the jungle, and Sino's been playing incredibly proactive, constantly trying to find this pressure onto the mid lane, and it's been working out for them. And I think that's one way to address having Jingwei in mid. She's a god that's going to be lacking in pressure. Largely, she's going to need a lot of peel. Sure, she's playing incredibly safe, but as far as fight potential in the 3v3, Jingwei in the early game, that's not something I want in my corner. So I like that Obey is shifting their focus towards playing around the mid. Make sure you get there where your power spikes are still going to be a little bit slower because of the Kali, but still pretty strong considering Jingwei is only level 5.
Well, we've seen it now try to do this on Ymir and it not work well, but here in Kuzenbo, you lock him against the wall. Fields of Love ensures that they are locked down. Cherio going to be put into the ground here by Obey, and now they can turn that into an invade. They even have already taken that purple buff. Everyone on Obey looking for blood, and right now they're out to find it. This is a brilliant start for this team, considering how most people thought this was going to go.
It is, but I'm not willing to count them as a dub just yet, man. We're 5 minutes in, 2,000 golden lead. That is a demanding start, or a commanding start, rather, but it's going to come down to these objectives, and that's really where I think Space Station's going to start to shine through. iRapper on Ganesh is going to control space incredibly well. Vote on this Freya, despite being slightly behind, is still a Freya who has gone undying. Got to address that at some point. The damage output that Space Station have once they group up as a death ball, the setup potential with Naja, the knockups from Jingwei on the tail end of the ring fire wheels, there's a lot that Obey are going to have to fight through if they want to win out around these Gold Fury fights.
And I think leaning into that even more, it's not just the objectives that are going to play into this, but honestly, Time, you had mentioned that Jingwei isn't necessarily who you're thinking in your early 3v3s is going to be the victor of a lot of fights. And when you look at Freya, we're not talking about an early game god there either. She's definitely moved up in terms of her timing from what she used to be, but it still, isn't the first, even 10 minutes of the game where she's going to dominate. It's after that Ring of Hecate is built. Honestly, maybe even one more item to make sure she can super control her lane. But as of right now, it still feels like the build up for SSG And so I want to raise you one more question, which really is going to be if Obey can keep this pace up, or if those big powerhouses coming online is going to be a thorn in their side they're going to have to deal with. Oh, it's going to take a little bit for it to deal with it. They're going to have enough bleed damage there to stop Dardes. Burns the ult from the Jingwei as well. Kraken might have to be used, but if you're looking to open up a gank onto the duo lane, that's exactly how you want to do it. And Inbound is already looking to read that. The Whoop going to be off the mark, and Raffer maybe not locked down enough, but this is going to at least read another invade here for Sino.
Man, I love it when the players answer the questions you ask me for me. Can they keep up that pace? Yes, if Sino keeps playing like this, but Cherio getting a little bit aggressive mid, doesn't find the ultimate. Wolfie counting his lucky stars is going to make it out alive, and that's clean play. Obey have to keep up the pace. They have to continue to find this pressure because they've got this early game god inside of Kuzumbo. Cupid's very strong in the early game. They are certainly outscaling on that duo side of the map at this current point in time. I want to see them look to force these fights around Gold Fury.
All right, now it's Ducky who's in a little bit of trouble. Mika goes up into the somersault cloud. Dash is going to come through, and Cherio's come over. The Sash going to connect. There's no mana, no health there for the solo laner from Obey, so they're going to at least be able to retaliate a little bit now on the side of Space Station Gaming. Sino kind of wants to fight, but kind of doesn't. I don't think they're going to be able to get here in time to stop Cherio from getting back, although Inbound definitely going to be hard-pressed to stop pressing W for a second. And this, you know, again, I think I agree with you. It might be a little too early to call it, but so far, this 8 minutes of play has felt like a completely different Obey than we got to see last week.
Well, it's probably because they're in the lead, Gore. We're not used to seeing Obey having this kind of lead in the early game. And you know what? It's something that we might want to get used to seeing. Right now, I'm worried for Ducky. Falling behind a Sun Wukong, who is already a god that you really wouldn't expect to have the ability to bully out an Amaterasu. Now he's going to have a lead. He's already itemizing into the Soul Eater. He's going to get additional penetration, additional sustain, additional cooldown coming along. It's going to be very hard for Ducky to fight in. So I think he might have to shift his attention now towards rotating out of this lane. Leverage the fact that Amaterasu, just from that first ability, is going to have a lot more movement speed. Try and get involved in the team fights. Play around the core of your team, which right now is going to be Wowie. It's going to be Sinoshirt. These are the players Obey have to look to facilitate. Nika with a lead, not nice for you, but still, it's just a Sun Wukong.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be able to rotate. He has some cool numbers on him, but it's not enough to control a team fight. Much like Kali's trying to do. A good Kraken once again onto Vote, sitting at about 1/3 HP, but it's going to be Raffer that gets burned down first. Fields of Love thrown out, and Sino's low, but Dardes doesn't have the ability to chase him down. Wolfie doing some good zoning, and it's going to force the two carries over here for SSG out of there. In fact, they're not done yet. Vote going to get pushed up against the wall. Wowie is going to be able to pick up the kill there. Inbound uses the ult to displace Cherio, and again, even though they might not be able to chase down the kill thereafter, I think a good call from them to be able to pulley out exactly who they want to. A good kill, a couple of kills even, onto the duo lane to shut down SSG.
Ooh, did you see that Ring of Hecate damage coming out from Wolfie there? Now Dardes is going to have to start showing some respect in that mid lane just for the auto attack damage. And I like it. Obey's continually putting on the pressure. This is where they were struggling in previous weeks, even if they were able to establish 200, 300 gold leads, which was, again, rare for them. Now they aren't really struggling with it. They know what they need to do. Continually find this pressure. They were able to force out Vote's beads, force out the Valkyrie discretion as well. Now is the time to continue looking for that aggression onto the Freya. Don't let her come online. And Wowie with a level lead already, stacking to the Devo's gloves, likely going to look at Atalanta's bow next. Things are looking very good for Obey, but they're still not in the clear.
Yeah, it scares me, Mifflin. I can't count how many times we've seen Frey even go down 3 levels and still fight back from it and have no problem boxing you 3 levels down. So you want to maybe keep her shut down. That Ring of Hecate just now online for Vote with this back. So it's going to be, well, interesting to see if this is maybe the turning tide 10.5 minutes in, or again, if Obey can hold this, because, I mean, still hovering at that 2,000 gold lead. They've been maintaining this for the last 5 or so minutes. It has been very consistent play for them, and it almost reads exactly the way you expect it to. Sino jumps in, stuns, Kraken comes out from Wolfie, and then they just do whatever it takes to get as many kills off of that play as possible. And that's been, I think, every single engagement they've started.
I mean, it's a strategy that they drafted around, and I think it should continue to work now. Wolfie's the one who has the largest lead on the map. You want to continue fighting around him. He's about a level and a half, maybe a level and 2/4 up on the enemy mid laner, Dardes. If they continue to fight around this Poseidon, that's going to be where all the synergy comes from. And again, that's Space Station's weakest point. They can't play around this Jingwei in mid because she's not a powerhouse just yet.
Well, right now they're looking to fight around Vote and this Freya. You said keep her shut down, and it looks like that's what they're going to try to do. Inbound into the ult, going to be able to find the kill under tower, but the rest of SSG have rotated in. Inbound, incredibly low. Dharmic pillars. Dardes goes up into the sky. One more shot is all it's going to take, and Inbound ends up losing his life. Ducky is rotated in. The Dazzling Offensive not going to find any stuns, but it looks like Obey maybe just playing a little bit of damage control now, turning their eyes to the Gold Fury, forcing SSG to come into this fight. They're going to use the Kraken to confirm that one, but SSG is not done yet. They want to chase these kills. The question is if they can catch up, and it seems like the answer might be no. Sino willing to poke his head right back in, but it might be too dangerous to re-engage. Wolfie trying to sniff out the danger. Everyone on SSG pulling back, and that's a huge win for Obey.
Yeah, what a heads-up play. Even Inbound dying there was very impactful for that fight. He drags the entirety of Space Station towards their own Tier 2 tower, which creates the space for them to start to pull out that Gold Fury. They still maintain the Kraken for that confirmation. It works out magnificently. So far, Obey's been doing a good job of maintaining this lead, but even then, the slash line is 6-2. They've established Gold Fury dominance, but that 2,000 gold lead that we saw at the 5-minute mark has only grown to 3. Space Station is playing the map just a little bit better, farming up the neutral objectives, the mid camps, their own buffs. They're doing a very good job mitigating loss.
And overall, even though the fights aren't going their way, like you said, as long as they can mitigate as much gold as possible when you lose things like a Gold Fury that fast, I don't think they're going to have much to worry about. As Dardes, Vote come online a little bit more, yes, so far they've been easy to shut down. The question is how, again, consistently can you do this over and over again? If you have to dump everything into a Freya, late game, eventually she's going to bite back. It'll be the question, I think, again, of Ducky and Nika when they do make these rotations, what they're able to do, because that was a pretty big swing from Ducky there. And I think it's something we expect to see. Team fights just feel a little bit better from a Amaterasu than they do from a Sun Wukong, and I think Ducky's going to leverage that as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, Dazzling Offensive is one of the best engage tools in the game. He's going to come in, look for a multi-man stun, likely a silence to follow up. He's got movement speed, so he should be able to out-rotate Nika from that lane. So even despite being just one level down, I think Ducky should be able to get a little bit more relative value out of his pick at this phase of the game. It's just how well are Obey going to be able to leverage that? So far, he's only rotated out once, and it's resulted in a Gold Fury kill. Now the only objective left is Pyromancer, and Obey are going to take it away for free. They're doing a very good job controlling the neutral objectives. But even then, that 3,000 gold lead that we highlighted earlier has remained stagnant despite Obey taking all these neutral objectives. And it's just because Space Station is playing so well, splitting their farm. I think Obey have a huge hill to climb up here. Space Station is a team that is very distinctly European. They will wait for that 20 to 30 minute mark and then start to look for those in grouped up team fights to push their lead.
All right, now they're going to be trying to force Wowie to play the game a little differently. Fields of Love comes out. Cherio gets the stun. He's one hit away, but Wowie's not going to be able to find it. Valkyrie's Discretion comes down. One more shot is all it takes, and the Aegis isn't going to last long enough there. Inbound is rotated over, and Sino's going to make his way in as well. It's going to be difficult to lock them down, but there's the Dharmic Pillars forcing them to make the decision. Vote in the Whirlpool, now in the Kali ult as well. The damage is looking to be good on the Freya. One more hit from Wolfie is all it takes, and they get the kill onto the carry for SSG, but Inbound in an unfortunate position after watching his mid laner go down. They might trade out too much here, and SSG looking to come away with a huge victory of this gank.
That Freya kill just took way too long for Obey, and Space Station had plenty of time to rotate in. A lot of it comes down to the fact that Bobby's push wasn't too good. They got beads out immediately, and even then pushing him into the purple buff was slightly away from Sino, so Sino missed out on his stun there as well. Space Station are doing a very good job of just making sure that they are standing wherever they need to be, and already that Obey lead that we were so excited for has really started to dissipate. It's under 2,000. Experience is just about even, if not, certain members of Space Station are ahead. It's not looking too good for Obey, and I think it's really going to come down to this next objective fight. Whoever gets this Oni Fury first sets up the defensive positioning, should be able to sneak away with it. Space Station has fantastic objective burn. Dharmic Pillars is going to be shredding the defense and the health bar at the exact same time. 2 hunters, 1 magical, 1 physical for Space Station inside of Jingwei and Freya means that any objective that they're allowed to touch for more than 5 seconds isn't going to last much longer than 5 seconds. But the same can be said of Obey. I really think it's going to come down to the team fight.
And that's actually one of the things that we talked about a lot at the very beginning of the year. I think it plays a huge role here now. Since we've seen hunters kind of rotating over into mid with these magical carries coming online, the missing burst ults that typically come with mages, much like Poseidon has here in the Kraken, means that it's not as easy to confirm that objective anymore. You know, you have to be a little more cautious here if you're SSG. Wolfie could just run up, hit 4, and potentially steal it away. Are you worried about that kind of potential? Do you think SSG are going to make sure Wolfie is a non-factor to be able to make sure they can get this Oni Fairy?
I think so. I mean, they have plenty of ways to control space. Nika should be looking to control Wolfie every single time Space Station group up on an objective. If Cherio's the first one to find Wolfie, God help him, he's just going to get Windfire wheels and die right there. There's so much that they can do. But as far as objective confirm, Obey certainly have it. So Space Station are very smart players. They know that as well. So they're going to be looking to either find a pick before they go for it or force a rotation in and then look to zone out the enemies.
Well, there's the Fury started. Cyno gonna blink in. Space Station gonna be able to get it just before the Kraken could try and steal it away, but Cyno isn't done just yet. Well, correct me, he's done now. SSG said no to the ult and no to the kills. They take him down as fast as they can, but they go jungler for jungler as Cherio gets taken down. Now it's going to be Ducky doing everything in his power to zone out Nika and stop him from getting onto the backline, but Inbound is in between 4 members of Space Station Gaming, and they're not going to be as lenient. They're going to take that kill, 3 of them on the side of SSG, alongside the Oni Fury, and the pressure seems to flip at, well, the drop of a hat.
Yeah, Space Station now looking at their first commanding lead of the game, and that's hard to say. It's only 200 gold, but at this point of even 18 minutes in, their team is going to scale incredibly well. Jingwei is going to become a standard hunter. Freya is literally Freya. I don't need to sing her praises anymore. And Obey just kind of play it a little bit rough around that objective. They all drop their ultimates at the same time. Fairly easily avoided by Space Station. Then they no longer have any tools to help out with that re-engagement. So Space Station chased them out perfectly once that gold 3 gets confirmed. It's just a bit of unfortunate timing for Obey. I like that idea from Space Station to group up around the fire, see if maybe no one from Obey is able to rotate in, but then they think better of it once they see Ducky go for the more confirmed objective inside of that tier 1 tower. Space Station, they're in a good spot, man.
I mean, they pulled pretty much everything right back into their power, and as you had highlighted, that 200 gold now shifting closer to 1,000. But it's still going to take them a little bit of time, I think, to get online. Wards, though, going to be important coming into this, and you can see right now Obey do not want to let anyone on SSG control this right side jungle. With Pyromancer coming back up, with Fire Giant being big. 19 minutes in, I think the earliest we've seen a Fire Giant was 16 minutes. It doesn't happen too often, but this like 18 to 22 minute period is where the threat really happens. You lose one Fire Giant, and it feels like everything can spiral out of control from there. So maybe even more important for Obey to stick the landing on this next fight. Otherwise, it might just be SSG. Those first 10 minutes truly might not have meant anything if the next fight goes SSG's way.
Yeah, Fire Giant is so impactful in this phase of the game because of the map state. Fire Giant's almost going to guarantee you to take all of Obey's towers. The same could be said of Obey if they are able to take Fire Giant themselves. And that's just so much global gold waiting around, global experience as well. You back up, you've already got the lead because you have the best buff in the game, and then you return to base and get an itemization lead as well, which is why we see these early Fire Giants around the 18 to 20 minute mark really get prioritized with these teams because it's one of those surefire ways to guarantee yourself a lead.
Right now, SSG are lurking in the jungle, waiting for someone to make a mistake. The whoop just off the mark, but the sash is going to connect. At least forces the beads there from Wolfie, and now it's Vote taking a lot of damage in return. Inbound going to have the displacement. The question is if he can do anything with it. Valkyrie's discretion returns some of the damage, but Vote's incredibly low, and Ducky recognizes it, goes into the backline to try and get him, gets the stun, but is trying to get the lockdown for the kill. Otherwise, it's Wolfie who's in trouble. Nika looking to come in on the Somersault Cloud, slams down, finds the kill. Ducky incredibly low. Cyno finally confirms that kill onto Vote, but did they commit too much to do so? Ducky loses his life. Cyno goes down as well. It's a 3-for-1 trade, and they're not done yet. If you're Space Station Gaming looking to try and maybe run down this tier 1 inbound, Wowie don't have much to defend here.
These engagements are so disjointed from Obey. Immediately inbound, looks for the ultimate to try and confirm the kill on the Vote. Doesn't quite find it because of the Valkyrie's discretion, but he keeps on holding W. Ducky forced to dive the tower to try and finish up that kill. Doesn't quite do it himself. So then Cyno's doing the exact same thing, going to that tier 2 tower. Space Station, almost on accident, drags Obey into possibly the worst positioning they could have been in, inside the enemy tier 2 tower from behind against the late game team who made it here ahead. It seems like Obey is just a little bit frustrated with the pace of the game, and it's getting to their heads.
I mean, Tier 1's still up at that time, too. It feels almost awkward to jump that deep, that far. Ducky and Sino try to go for it, so maybe a little bit of an overcommitment, as you highlight, from Obey. They've got a little bit of pressure still. The minions maybe favoring them in left and mid, but that Pyromancer going the way of SSG, this red buff invade, might not be the cleanest thing to try and do. It's not 5 minutes in anymore. They don't have that lead they were able to do with earlier. And so now they're going to have to fall back here. Mifflin, if you're playing Obey here, or if you are Obey, if you're trying to shot call, where are your eyes going? Like, what do you do to try and stabilize right now? Because it feels like it's starting to get out of hand.
Well, I'm telling Bobby to stop going in as aggressive as he has been. A lot of these fights have been started up by him, and it's just not working out. But this man likes the W key, so we're going to give up on that call right there. Next up is damage control. So far, we're looking at a 4,000 gold deficit. That's not completely crippling. You can go back to farming, try and play safe, commit yourself not towards fighting on these objectives, but maybe try for steals, control vision. But with the waves pushed up as they are, the only way Obey is going to be able to find farm is through a fight.
Well, right now, potentially looking for something, and you had highlighted it earlier. The desk had mentioned it, but right now Raffer on this Ganesh, stopping inbound from being able to be as aggressive as he wants. Catching that dash out to stop him from displacing teammates has been just, well, iconic overall. And now looking to potentially get the lockdown. Dardez is here, Nika is here, Dharmic Pillar's going to come down as well to force him to take a very specific path through the jungle to get to safety. Doesn't feel like SSG can really collapse in on it, but Nika doesn't seem to care. They're going to be going for it anyway. Up into the sky goes Cherio, and now he's going to be coming down as well with Sino. That's going to be an easy kill, easy cleanup. Overall, Fields of Love comes down, detonates, but doesn't seem to be helping too much. Kraken is going to be able to come through as well, but it's not enough damage to lock down anyone. It's 3 for 0 so far. SSG continuing to barrel down the right lane. Vote going to find himself a double kill. This tier 2 going to disappear just shortly. And SSG, honestly, they could run it down here, Mifflin. They have 30 seconds uncontested. Obey might have just lost game 1.
Yeah, you say could, I say will. I mean, 40 seconds left on the nearest respawn. All 5 members relatively healthy on the side of Space Station. And how did that fight go wrong for Obey? Inbound was a little bit too deep, alone at the enemy back camps, gets caught out, starts to run away. The rest of Obey has to move up and try and peel for him and lose their lives in return as well. It's just over-aggression right now. They're not quite sure where they want to put their support in these team fights. I like the idea. Inbound wants to get proactive, wants to turn the game around himself, but you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And when you're 6,000 gold down 22 minutes into the game, that's a fold them situation every time, Gore.
I mean, you had literally said it before that fight, but that's the time to turn around and walk away, right? I mean, you have to get out of that engagement if you're inbound. Unfortunately for him, he ends up just holding on a little bit too deep. The Dharmic Pillars force him to stay in that engagement. It honestly felt like it was slipping through SSG's fingers for a second there as well. They almost could have gotten out. And then Cherio just decided, nope, we're going to make sure we win this one. Goes up into the air with Sino, and then the rest was history. At least for game number 1. There's still a second game to try and turn it around. Obey had a good first portion of it, but you've heard us talk about it enough. Let's go ahead and go to the desk and see if they can break down what went wrong for Obey.
I appreciate it, fellas. Obey was counting their money while they were still sitting at the table there, and they lost it quickly. In 9 minutes, I remember thinking, how did they just lose this game? They were far and away ahead of it early on. In Finch, it's like dream scenario. Your Kali's gotten a couple of kills online early. This mid Poseidon has gotten some pressure put there. You're thinking this is exactly what Obey want. They've got the meta picks on their side, and then it just crumbles, just like that.
It's tough because I had some misgivings about this composition, but it was none of those that was a problem. I was worried Sino wouldn't be able to get involved early enough, but he actually looked excellent throughout the first 10 minutes of this game, really getting a lot of value out of the Destruction Ultimate, as well as the Kali stun, and setting up for Wolfie to have some big Krakens. But really, man, it only took a couple of team fights for things to go around. The Fury fight around the 17-minute mark, where Space Station pulled the Fury, and they're able to confirm over Wolfie's Kraken, and Freya's able to avoid Sino's dive on the Kali as well. I mean, things got out of hand really very quickly because Obey couldn't get far enough ahead with that early game lead.
Right, it was just 2 pivotal points where things really start to shift around here. Yeah, 23 minutes in, all one short of a deicide, and it's inbound that's left alive, and nothing he can do about that. It's just, you know, I guess the silver lining there, if you're Obey or an Obey fan, the moral victory, I suppose, still a team that could use some of those, is that the early game largely went in your favor. Now let's figure out how to shift things around there in that mid game. But SSG, I mean, this is obviously losing early isn't necessarily their MO, but kind of keeping things under wraps and then these big fights where they explode out and build this lead is just what they do so well. I think Nika as well had a good game on this Wukong, close to top in the game. I mean, this guy just pulls so much weight out of the solo lane. Game in, game out. You know, I think you got to.
Ja man, vandaag niet. Vandaag enkel smite.
You do, and I want to make sure we're giving Space Station their due credit here. You know, I've kind of talked about some of the things we didn't like about Obey, but you have to give credit to vote for how well he's able to play this Freya. Multiple times, he was the focal point when Sino was diving in the backline, but he was able to use the banish, use the Valkyrie's discretion to get out of trouble long enough to let the rest of his team come to him. Or what about the dive in left when they're looking for him kind of in between the tier 1 and tier 2 tower, and he buys so much time there that the rest of the squad is able to show up. You already talked about Nika, but Dardes played the Jing Wei insanely well this game too. In mid, who knew Jing Wei mid was this nasty? So really, Space Station from top to bottom, it didn't take long for them to get right back into the groove.
Right, that's what we figured we would see from this team once the wheels started turning, once they got going. That's always the presence that they bring. I think one of the good takeaways, though, before we move into picks and bans, or as we move into picks and bans for game number 2, is that it is a refreshingly better look as far as meta takes go, I think, for Obey. By and large, I think it was a better meta draft there from them, and it looked like it was going to win, and then maybe some decision-making and some team fighting just doesn't go their way. So at least we've gotten that put behind us. Now, the question is, how do you adapt some of what your ban preference was? It was a Jing Wei and a Freya that made its way through in exchange for this Amaterasu. That's a hefty swing, I think, you take there. This Amaterasu is going to outvalue a Jing Wei and a Freya.
It is, if that is how the trade ends up going, right? You're not going to get nearly the value of the Ama as the other team did at their top 2 picks. But for me, Dalton, I think what we're really seeing from Obey is that they're getting disjointed and lost in these fights. How many times is Sino a solo agent in these fights trying to 1v3 in the backline? Or how many times was Inbound way on his own, you know, taking a whole bunch of damage, sure, but dying basically all on his own with no chance of realistic follow-up? I think that we're getting to the point now where they're picking good pieces and even executing them well for those first few minutes of the game, but they have to make sure they're on the same page throughout the entirety of the game, or just like in game 1, it's not going to amount to very much.
I guess we sort of joked to that. I guess that lends itself to the Kali pick. If Sino kind of just said, all right, I'm going to take this into my hands. And the Kali, that's when she works, I'll dive in, hopefully get some resets, and can carry this fight from here on out. Worked a little bit. That's all game 1 talk. It was, 23 minutes, as short as it was, a lot of fun to kind of look at and break down exactly how we got to the finish there. Bans, I believe, unchanged. And now picks, unchanged for Obey. The Amaterasu for Ducky still, what Obey valued the highest. I can't imagine SSG shy away from one or both of what they had for their first 2 picks in game number 1 there. It's at least going to be the Freya there, Finch. So Obey still at least feeling confident with what they brought in the early game and hoping to change some stuff around, at least when it comes to Amaterasu.
And you saw some of the, I think, extra value that Freya brings in that game, as they are indeed going to go with those same 2 picks. It's not just that I think she has some of the best 1v1 potential in the whole game, but that she does have some added safety measures. We talked about the banish, we talked about the Valkyrie's discretion, and then obviously the high life steal as well. Sometimes it's not because Freya does a bunch of damage, it's because she always has the threat to do a bunch of damage, and she's hard to all-in commit at times as well, and leave you in a good enough position to take a fight on the backside against the rest of her team.
Right, and I think hopefully, keep things the same. Rather, is the word I'm looking for there. If you're SSG, because I think Vote, all things considered, had a good game on the Jingwei, despite being looked at pretty heavily by Obey. Through the first 5 here, same picks. Yeah. Another Cupid locked in by Obey. I think Wowie had a decent showing early on. Is kind of the thread we're following here. And then a Wukong being Hubbard. Nika, an undying performance there in game number 1. I guess all things considered, this is Obey just saying we played well enough in the early to win the game, and we know what went wrong, and maybe just run back something the exact same.
And I think largely I can get behind that mentality because the start to the early game was great, and that was a good composition. I think they just made a couple of oversteps. But I don't know if that's the kind of thing that's going to change The only part of Obey's identity that I've got locked in right now is that Inbound likes to go in and Sino like to go in. So if those were kind of the crux of the problem, I don't think that's going to magically change between games 1 and game 2. Just make sure this is a team that's prepared to play around that sort of dive-heavy style from those two players. I think that's truly all they would need. But again, with the great start they had to the game, I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with trying it again.
I wish I, had a button that just said it's the same, because I'd be slamming it here.
Saving yourself a lot of talking, right?
Right, saving plenty of effort here on my part. All right, something different again. Nash's banned out.
Okay.
So now SSG are at least going to have a different look in that department. They'll have a chance to show us what direction they go. But, again, it was sort of, a quiet game because you're Ganesh and you don't show up in the kill column ever. So a quiet game in that regard, I suppose, from Rapper. But, you can still have sort of that identity with this Kuzenbo. You run in, you find some lockdown, and you can disrupt these team fights differently. The route to getting there is different, but maybe similar impact to what a Ganesh can provide.
Right. I think that Ganesh is one of the few Guardians that are really strong right now. Kuzenbo not quite up to that same level, but I don't think we gave Rapper enough credit for how disruptive he was in game 1. In particularly, he had some really good silences that just really can buy a few extra moments, a few extra seconds for the rest of the squad to get there. Similarly, the same thing can be done with Kuzenbo, though, so I agree with you in that regard, but apparently this is what's in the back pocket for Inbound when the Kuzenbo's not there.
Does that kind of ring true with what we said about Inbound, though? Sylvanas and run-at-you mentality, does that kind of connect in your mind?
I think one part that does connect is Bobby loves to go for high reward plays, regardless of the risk associated. And I think Sylvanas pull is one of those sort of high variance types of things he likes to go for, right? There are times you can get a Sylvanas pull through a wall, maybe, or a pull to interrupt a dash, something like that, and that turns an entire team fight around. Plus, Sylvanas does have great team fight presence when he doesn't get too bullied in the early game. He's rather immobile and can certainly die easily. As long as Bobby can avoid maybe getting picked off on his own and can get to the point where he can look for those high variance plays, I think the Sylvanas does make some good sense of the way he likes to play.
Again, I think you look at Obey and they've drafted, all things. They've given themselves a chance as they load into the game. I think that's a great starting point. I think they've got a good team fight here between Ama, Cupid, Sylvanas, and Lockdown there, and then Merlin to really cap off that damage. SSG had to make a couple of changes. We've talked about the Kuzenbo, but now the Robin out of the jungle. How do you like the SSG chances heading into game 2?
I mean, I really like them. Obviously, you've got a core backline in Freya and Jing Wei that is always going to be good. And now you have this dominant front line, the Kuzenbo, Sun Wukong, plus Robin, to sort of carry you through that early game. Not to be quite the same as Cheerio on the Naja last game, taking people out of fights. But the Robin should be able to do it the other way by just outright killing them very, very quickly with all the damage he's able to provide.
Yeah, death is another form of CC, I suppose. Obey looking to turn a great early game into a win here in game 2. SSG looking to finish them off. Let's go down to your casters to maybe round out the day.
Thanks again, Dave. And that's right, with 40% of the gods changing in this game, maybe something good is going to happen for Obey. But Mifflin, I am standing by one sentence, and hopefully I don't fail at this, but I'm going to try my best to say nothing about any lead for Obey until we're at 15 minutes in, when Dardes and Vote finish off enough items that they're going to start hitting hard, because that really was the path last game took.
It really was, man. And it's going to be even harder now for them to establish a lead in the early game because Space Station boosted their early game hard. Rapper on this Kuzmo is going to be dominant and controlling space. We saw it from Bobby in the early game last time that he was finding a ton of damage. He was able to set up a lot of these fights. And now Cheerio behind the wheel of Robin. This guy is one of the best early game assassins that you can hope for. His damage output, his gank potential, mobility, safety. He's got a lot of tools that have propelled them into the mid game very easily. And once they get there, well, you've got the backing of Dardes on Jingwei. You've got Vote on this Freya. It's going to be very hard for Obey to deal with this early pressure. But if they make it through, Obey's team fight might just be better.
Well, speaking of early pressure, Raffer taking this Kuzenbo seems to be putting the hurt onto Obey already. Had to use the beads is wowie. Yes, Sylvanas brings in the healing, and Mifflin, I cannot understate how excited I am to see a Sylvanas. I just think it's going to have a tough time here because of things like this. Raffer might get rooted by that passive occasionally. For the most part, I think that Inbound maybe is going to make some big differences, but I don't know if the Sylvanas is going to be the end-all, be-all of this game.
I mean, I'm worried about Sylvanas in the same way that I'm worrying about Ymir. He's largely a mobile guardian who's very easy to exploit in the early game, and already we're seeing that inbound loves taking aggressive positioning. He's on the enemy red buff.
Now they're going to get aggressive. Cyno's rotated in as well. Raffer looking to get low here. 4 members of Obey rotate in for the kill, but they still haven't been able to get it. Finally, they get that last hit, but now Freya's in here. Jingwei is over as well. Cherio trying to stay alive, but Cyno going to be able to help get that kill. Wolfie trades his life out for the trouble. And now the healing from Sylvanas is going to look to pay it off. The tick damage as well. Going to help Wowie pick up a double kill. Maybe trying to make it 3 here if he can find one on Devote. The Pulse doing whatever it can, but the triple kill early on for the Hunter here for Obey Alliance. A great way, once again, to start off this game.
Obey's got that early game down. That first red buff invade is Obey shining bright like a star, because that's them at their best, and it looked incredibly strong. And a lot of that goes their way because Rapper rotates in to defend that wave, or that buff rather, at level 1. He didn't have a second ability, there was no Nene to block out any of the auto attacks. All he really had was the dash, and it got cancelled out very quickly by a stun from this Cupid. Wowie's positioning in that fight was nearly perfect. A lot is going Obey's way, but even then, we're looking at about a 1,000 gold lead 2 minutes in. Hugely impactful, but they're going to have to do a lot more. They got to continually find this pressure and find that lead, push it even further.
I will never fail to be impressed with how brave some of the players are in the SPL. Notably here, I'm talking about Rapper. Just got triple killed by Wowie, was 2 levels down at the time, and still walked into lane ready to get aggressive if need be. Like, ready to fight. And that is something that I think is going to be impressive. And something I think that kept SSG in that game last time, and one of their strengths is that deficit, they recognize they can play around it even if they are down. I think that's something that's going to come into play here. I mean, they just had living proof of it during the last game, so it's not really something you can argue with. But now, these small little changes, the Merlin coming in with the Sylvanas here for Obey, it feels like it gives me a little bit of late game hope, even if, Sylvanas maybe isn't this end-all be-all, like you said, kind of comparison to Ymir. Pretty easy to exploit, but he can also make some really big plays for you, and with a Merlin behind him, when they come into that 3v3 stage, that feels pretty good.
And I think it's also going to be able to mitigate some of the failings we see from inbound where he gets over-aggressive. Sylvanas is a god that is really going to make you want to play around your team. You want to get the value out of your heal. That ultimate is a good engage tool, but it's also a fantastic fuel tool. You can look for long-range engage, so you don't necessarily have to dedicate your body like he was doing on Kuzumo. I think this pick might really work around what Bobby's looking to do and make it a lot safer to do it. I'm really, really worried about how well he's going to be able to execute on it. We need him to hit level 5, and then immediately look for some more aggression, likely inside that duo lane, because Sylvanas ultimate onto a Jingwei. You knock her up, she dashes out, you try and chase down after that, she'll likely use her ultimate to escape. But it is going to be very strong into this Freya. If her beads are ever down, that knockup is so long, you set up for the heart bomb, maybe even a field to love, and then you can look for some aggression there. Kali's going to spend the next 10-15 minutes farming up, so they're going to have to contend with this Robin out of the jungle trying to get proactive a la Cherio.
Not often do I talk about passives here, and you highlighted all of the active things inbound can do to change the way the game can go for him. But Sylvanas passive, I feel like it's going to help him just a little bit. That whenever you're hit by a melee, there's a chance for them to be rooted. I think it's just going to help peel Cherio, help peel Rapper, and Nika just enough that maybe moments like the end of Game 1 just don't happen as often overall, and maybe help him get out of some of these ganks. But you had called for the level 5 mark. Now he's ticked over to there, so we'll have to see how Obey decide to manage the next couple of minutes, because it is again approaching a 2,000 gold lead for them. Still a little bit under, about 1,500 as of right now. But this was how they were able to cultivate it earlier. It's more a question of if they can hold on to it when that power spike is hit, that we'll see from Dardes and from Vote, especially considering Cherio is also going to be coming around his peak about the same time.
Yeah, he's going to hit his power spike very early on. We see Cherio going for the standard ability-based build, could be moving into a Crusher, a Brawler's Beat Stick, or even a Jotun's Wrath. All of those items are going to give him additional pen. His kill potential is going to go a lot higher. He's hitting his power spike way before this Kali ever will, and that's very concerning because we saw last game that a lot of these fights really started to get opened up around those first couple of gold cues. The first Pyromancer, the Space Station group up and try and take the fight at 12, 13 minutes. They can very well expect that at least their jungler is going to be at a way higher power spike than Sino will be at that point in the game.
You know, I'm really loving this Wukong. I think more than I wanted to. Like, it feels weird because, again, Wukong may be one of my favorite gods to play, but there's always a part of my brain that's just like, yeah, nah, root against him for whatever reason. And yet seeing it succeed, at least as of right now, he seems to be farming well, mashing up on Amaterasu, which I think is very difficult to do. Maybe shows off how good Nika is over there in that solo lane more than anything. And I think what we're seeing right now is just going to be the impact of him. His rotations, the ability to sit on Wolfie last game was very big for him. Now that Merlin has that blink, maybe going to make it a little more difficult. But he comes in with a stun, a slow, an attack speed slow. It's hard to argue against a Wukong right now.
And not only does he come in with a stun, but he doesn't have to dedicate his ability points into leveling that stun. Now the 72 transformation, you're going to get that fertilization at level 1, means you can max out that Master's Will, get that ability up a lot more often. But Rapper in a little bit of trouble, going to have his ultimate forced out. Nothing ventured, nothing gained for Obey. Weren't quite able to steal away that purple, but they do force out a fantastic team fight ability. Sun Wukong already picked up the Soul Reaper. He's going to be stacking that very easily. And I think that this is an item that has really brought Sun Wukong back into the meta. He's got that cooldown, penetration, that sustain that you lost from Glad Shield, you're making up for in spades with Soul Eater.
Well, Mifflin, I'm having trouble because I'm starting to draw parallels to Game 1 right now. My brain is just making the connections as I see them. And it feels like Obey, once again, maybe want to go for a red buff invade. You've got Wolfie Sino inbound here, ready to jump in. The question is whether or not they feel confident enough to be able to pluck that one away. They throw the ice over the wall, not going to full commit to a fight, which I think is a good call from them. Unfortunately for them, they're not going to be able to get much out of it. Maybe a little bit of pressure across the map, as SSG still seem not timid, but reluctant to start fights yet. They're still waiting because they know it's a time game.
This is exactly what I'm talking about with SSG just playing the map incredibly well. The Obey Alliance started off with a triple kill on their Hunter on the first red buff of the game, and already Freya's caught up in levels. iRapper's caught up in levels as well. The XP deficit is slowly declining. You can see it there on the charts. Only 500 split between 5 members. That's just about nothing. The only thing separating these two teams is roughly 1,000 gold, and that gold lead has been slowly declining as the game goes on, and there haven't been really any engagement since that red buff invade.
Yeah, nothing big happening for Obey, and it feels, although, like, because they don't have that Kuzenbo displacing people that Inbound was able to early on last game, it is slowing it down. And it almost feels weird because in my mind, you get a good root, you can get a great pull as Sylvanas, but it almost feels like we haven't gotten to see any of those, and I guess it feels that way because we haven't seen any of those. I'm waiting for that first pull to come through. Maybe it's through a wall, maybe it's some hype play. I don't really care if it's something very simple, but either way, it could be impressive. Right now, though, it's a purple buff invade. Rapper going to be able to displace inbound. The ult comes through, but it's going to be a return ult from both members of SSG looking to try and slam some damage down. Rapper loses his life. The purple buff goes to Obey, and so they choose for SSG to invade over here on the blue side. And still not going to find any kills, but it's buff for buff, and at the end of the day, you only lost your support.
Questionable play from SSG to decide to really hard stick in and try and defend that purple buff there. They knew that they didn't have the numbers. They knew that Cherio was on the other side of the map looking for a blue buff invade. So what happens? You force out Freya beats and ultimate, pick up a kill, get yourself a buff, and you trade out the blue buff on the opposite side of the map. That's a big W for Obey Alliance, and I think that they continue to do that. If they want to keep playing around this Freya in the early game, they absolutely should. It's the one priority target on SSG that you really have to dedicate time to shutting down. That said, Sino has spent a lot of time hovering around that jungle, just looking for that fight himself. If he keeps slowing down his own farm, he's got to be worried about his own power spikes. I think when you have these two hyper carries, Kali and Freya, Obey need to dedicate the time to developing their own rather than shutting down the enemies.
Well, now Obey are trying to, at least get something done. They've been able to come in and steal a couple of buffs. But now we've got the one-on-one mano-a-mano. It seems like WoW is going to go ahead and call that one as soon as he can. That Ring of Akate is online now for vote, and that means it's a little bit of distress for WoW as he runs away. Sino, I think, in a similar position, forced to fall back here with SSG making some rotations around this Gold Fury. Nothing to start up, nothing to steal away. But I think, again, you're starting to feel that pivot. The flow of the water is changing here. And unfortunately for Obey, they have to find at least some sort of solid ground to stand on before he gets out of hand. Because this lead, it was bigger last time, and it still disappeared in the blink of an eye.
Look, I'm not willing to call the changing tides just yet, okay? We're Obey truthers out here, and they are maintaining a lead. I'm waiting to see that first team fight around an objective. Because right now, Obey's really not made that many mistakes. They've been able to push their lead a little bit. They've been able to evade these camps. They've been able to establish a 5-1 slash line. That doesn't happen as a mistake, especially against a team the caliber of Space Station Gaming. I think that Obey's done a good job of utilizing their tools, and maybe even with this pace being a little bit slower, might benefit them. They're not going to open themselves up to nearly as many mistakes, and now Sino's going to have a lot more time to farm up, get himself into that late game position. But it's a double-edged sword. The same can be said of Boat. He's only fell once, and he's got a return kill himself. 1 level deficit in that duo lane. You might want to look towards shutting down this Ray a little bit more. But both teams have these hyper carries. It's yet to be seen how it's going to play out around this first team fight objective.
It is that patience, I think, that's coming through. Kind of surprisingly, I would argue, from Obey right now, that is keeping things going their way. I mean, they come in, they'll take a pick, and then they get out. And everything else that we've seen hasn't necessarily screamed, Obey's playstyle, right? I mean, it's been much slower pace. It fits to what we see out of SSG, and not necessarily what you even see out of teams like Ghost, right? I mean, you talk about them, it's sub 20 minutes. It definitely is a change in style, but something that Wolfie, I think, among all of them, and Ducky here, are going to be used to for Obey. Maybe them helping pull the reins in on their other teammates right now to kind of fit to the style SSG is going to bring. As long as you maintain that lead, as you had highlighted, 1,500 gold can turn into 6,000 in the blink of an eye just as quick as it can disappear. So there's a lot of ways this game can change still. I think it is around this Gold Fury, if that's even the first one we see. Now that we're going to be hitting 13 minutes, close to 15 minutes, you could potentially see that be around a Pyromancer. Honestly, if it goes on even longer, the first fight you might see might be over by a Fire Giant.
Yeah, we really can't predict the pace of this match, especially considering it's so wildly different from Game 1. Obey is showing a lot more discipline, and I think it goes to show that they learned from their mistakes already, adapting mid-set, realizing that they got a little bit over-aggressive. They need to rein it in just a little bit, pick their fights a little bit better, group up as a team. But it seems like it's going to be Obey, first one on the scene for an objective.
They're going to start it up inbound, going to be able to make sure everyone's topped off. A blink for a blink, though. Raffer goes in deep. Sino ends up finding nothing, and now it's going to be the damaged Cherio trying to stay alive. Does manage to do so. Takes a lot in the process. Forced to fall back is Obey, and now SSG in a position to try and pick up the objective if they want, but they're going to say no here, and that leaves Obey wide open to come in and start it right back up where they were. Same health, they've got the Merlin, he's known for burning things down, and now Raffer doesn't have the same engage. No ult, no blink. It might be more difficult for SSG to fight back on this one.
That 2-for-2 ult trade is going to be hugely impactful. The longer these fights go on, Obey's going to be able to leverage all that sustain. Cupid heals, Sylvanas heals. Raffer, you're in some trouble, bud.
Burned down like it's nothing there. Doesn't matter that he has the spikes come out on the shelf. He gets burned down incredibly fast. Now Vote, seems like him and Dardes were maybe conversing over that Gold Fury, but there's only one team left with a tank, and right now it's going to be Obey. But Mika's rotated in, so has Ducky, and I expect to see a dazzling offensive come out here to either re-aggress or find some defense here for Obey Alliance. Already looking to try and lock down Dardes, forces the ult from the Jingwei, and she's going to dive into the backline. Cherio tries to get back in, but unfortunately for him, he's going to take too much. Vote ends up being the one that gets burned down in the process. Sino isn't going to stop there either. He's going to go ahead and go for the double kill, takes down both carries in one fell swoop, and now, unfortunately for Nika, no mana and virtually no health to try and get through the rest of Obey. The blue team looks to not only turn this lead into even more, now this Gold Fury has one Raffer, one Cherio standing between them, and I don't know if that's going to be enough to stop him here, Mifflin.
Raffer's ultimate is back up. A Field to Lover dropped. He's going to have to force that Kuzenbo ultimate, but the Gold Fury's falling low. Cherio uses his ult as well.
Now they're looking to potentially find themselves a deicide here. 15 minutes into the game, one hit from Ducky's going to be able to get it. Technically, Vote respawns, so it's not the full-on deicide, but it might as well be. It's a full 5-man wipe there on the side of SSG. 6-man if you want to count the first death for Raffer. So a huge turnaround, plus a Gold Fury. The patience is paying off here, Mifflin.
I like the play. Obey played it masterfully around that dance around the objective, continually forcing Space Station to respond to the threat that, well, if you leave us here, we're just going to do it. They come in, Space Station gets poked out a little bit. Obey backs up, uses Cupid and Sylvanas healing to resustain, and they continue that dance for so long, slowly working through all of Space Station's ultimates, actives, whittling away at their tools until eventually one big fight erupts and Obey come in with the advantage. I really like the patience from them. Now Gold 3 goes their way. The slash lines bump up to 3. We're looking at a 2,000, nearly 3,000 gold lead. Sino sure is starting to hit his power spikes very quickly as well. Obey is benefiting greatly from this slower pace.
And Sino, a part of all 11 kills there, 4, 1, and 7. I think your kills are pretty much exactly where they want to be. Unfortunately, Wowie didn't get a piece of any of that action. And a lot of assists, but those 3 kills were still that triple kill that he got at the beginning of the game. But seeing your carry at 3-0-6, knowing that inbound here is 1-0-7, and then Sino at 4-1-7, you see the ones getting the kills that you want to, and that's allowed this Kali to get the hasten. Now she has the chin size, like the power spike that you're waiting for as a Kali is paying off, and so far, I think this is going to help Sino. He jumped in the backline and got vote first this last fight. I expect to see more of that from this Kali.
I do as well. And already we're looking at a much, much better game state than we were 17 minutes in the last game, if you are an Obey fan. Bobby's up 2 levels over Rapper, so his engage, he hasn't been looking to get nearly as proactive, but when he does, he's going to have a lot more defense on his side.
Oh, but Cherio's over here. Doesn't even give him the chance. Fields of Love was halfway through emerging there before that death finally happened. Wowie, unfortunately, going to get taken down, but you know Cherio's on the other side of the map, so Obey make the call for the Pyromancer. They have to fight through Rafford, Dardes, and now what's going to be a huge team fight over here, looking to burn through Wolfie. Going to be saved, though. The shielding is just so solid, but it's not enough to maintain his life forever. Finally taken down and now zoned out. It's a 1v2 on one side, 2v2 on the other. Raffer is going to pay for it with his life. Cherio not going to be chasing down Sino. Instead, coming to try and protect his teammate Nika over here. Look for the kill on the inbound or Ducky. They're both low, but can you continue chasing him? The answer is absolutely yes. They have no issue. A good crit from Dardes and then the full kit from Cherio makes sure those 2 kills go down, and SSG are starting to pluck back some of what they lost.
Man, this is exactly deja vu of game 1. The first team fight that Obey take, and they're starting to split up a little bit, have separate 3-on-2, 2-on-2 engagements. SSG punished them greatly. The one thing I noticed there in that team fight that stood out to me greatly, nobody decided to look at Dardes. He was allowed to free cast the entirety of the time, finding every single auto attack he needed to. Nika's Sun Wukong clone, Wu 2, he confirmed the kill there. Nothing really goes Obey's way, and it's because they're not playing as that cohesive unit that we were seeing in the first 15 minutes of the game. They have to group up, play as 5, use your healing, use your draft at its best, and not let Space Station artificially manufacture these split-up engagements.
And it's going to be difficult at this point. I mean, Sino was doing everything in the tower. He was in a literal 1v2 for part of it. There's only so much you can do on your own. He managed to stay alive there, and I think that's a huge play for them. But like you said, getting separated like that, SSG more dictating what you do than your own team can in terms of shot calling, I think showcases how much power Space Station have in this late game. And I almost feel the echoing sentiments you had said yesterday while we were casting the Challenger circuit, where it's like, we're approaching 20 minutes. It's time for the game to start here for Space Station Gaming, and it definitely starts to feel that way. They've hit this late game power spike. You're starting to see the same items come online, and now, slowing down Obey to the point where now they've actually even passed them in terms of gold. It's starting to feel like it's slipping out of Obey's hands. Not enough that they've lost, but enough that they have to pay way more attention to every little thing and every small decision they make.
If there's anything that is indicative of how this set has gone, it's the slash lines on their ADCs. Take a peek now. We got 3, 1, and 6 for Wowie, and we've got a 1, 2, 2 for Boat. But who's ahead? Boat is almost 2 levels ahead. These itemizations coming online a lot quicker. It's because Space Station is just farming up the map incredibly well, making sure gold lands on who it needs to. And even though we saw that 3-0 start from Wowie, Obey hasn't really been fighting around this Cupid. They haven't been using the lead where it landed. So instead, they take fights on the right side of the map, the center of the map, where Wowie can't get involved. And Space Station say, oh, you're not going to use that loaded gun that you established 2 minutes in? That's phenomenal. Let's take the fight now. And Space Station's just going to win out on it.
If you leave a loaded gun on the table and your opponent is on the other side, you can expect to see them pick it up here, and that's exactly what SSG have done. They're trying to turn it onto Obey Alliance. Oni Fury started up by Obey, though. All of SSG is in the neighborhood. It's just how they aggress into this. Who goes first? We've seen a blink from Rapper early on. No blink for Sino to retaliate, so maybe not the same engage that Obey would like. They're going to continue pulling the Fury. Rapper's still here, Nika's still here. Both has kind of left the engagement. Now the Fury's sitting at about half health, but Obey seemed to know a little bit better. And it looks like they potentially want to stop fighting because the jungles are running off all on their own. Instead, SSG going to call the bluff on the Fury. It's going to be Sino versus Cherio over here, and it looks like Cherio's going to lose. That's going to be a good 1v1 for Sino, but now, how does the rest of the fight go for the team? Good knock-up coming down from inbound. Good fields of love to call the disengage for Obey, and the healing's going to help keep him alive, but Nika isn't going to let them live long on his own. He's going to be dashing back to his team, trying to stay alive. This Fury's been bouncing back and forth, but Sino's joined the fight, looking for his target, but that's going to be the immunity up in disguise from Boat, and Sino loses his life in the process. Now Ducky just trying to stay alive, holding on by a thread, but the thread is not strong enough. Boat going to be able to confirm that one, and in the blink of an eye, it turns around. Obey forced to run away here. Now they're not even going to be able to contend this Fury as they just try to pick up a red buff and stay alive.
That's a tough loss there for Obey. Their only job after Sino got that solo kill on a Cherio was to back up, wait for them to regroup as 5, and then re-engage. But by the time Sino got there, Space Station was already winning the engagement, and I could almost hear it in his voice as he looks for that fight onto the Freya. And the second Valkyrie discretion comes through, Sino's got to be saying something along the lines of, "Oh, she still had that? You've been fighting for over a minute now." And then immediately he's out of position. He has to force into using his ultimate, has to disengage, and then loses his life to just AoE damage around them. That's a tough loss for Obey, especially considering how the engagement started. I mean, Sino literally 100-0 Cherio in a completely separate fight, and then came in for a numbers advantage engagement and just lost out on it. Not only the fight, but also the objectives. Space Station are really starting to build themselves up a nice lead.
That's not often you get to genuinely see a fight in a vacuum, right? Where it is a true 1v1. It's either happening at the very beginning of the game or, well, I guess right there when everyone decides to disengage from the team fight. And now you can see how that's going to affect Obey. Pyromancer, a couple of hits away from dead. And it looks like SSG are going to be able to confirm this one pretty easily for themselves. Obey poke their head in, but decide that it's not going to be worth their time. And it feels like they just don't know how to approach this, how to crack the egg that Space Station Gaming has put in front of them, because it's just so difficult to figure out how to break them apart.
It really is. And now Space Station know they can just take these fights wherever they need to. They don't have to take that risky 50-50 engagement on Fire Giant. Instead, they're going to push their lead by pressuring down the mid tower, and Obey, a little bit slow in the uptake, wasn't quite there in time to even put up a soft defense. SSG opened up the map entirely. Now, if they do decide to go to Fire, Obey doesn't have that bastion of safety in mid to rely on. They've got nothing. There's no tower there. It's dead. It's crumbled. It's ash. And now Space Station have complete control of that right side objective-centric part of the map.
Well, Obey are still wandering around as 5, maybe a small, slightly larger, I should say, split from SSG in terms of where they're grouping. So it could end up resulting at least in a tier 1 here if Obey are looking to push down mid. It might be too much. Rapper's looking to loop around. He can just choose one person on Obey and, well, cause their life to be ruined in the matter of seconds. That's going to be a good pull. The first one we've really gotten to see connect from inbound. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. Nika is still Wukong. He can still disengage pretty easily. Felt like it was going to be something more, but it's a lot for a tier 1 tower here for SSG.
Every bit of pilf that Obey is able to get without getting damaged themselves is huge because they have healing.
And now Raptor's going to be right back into it, inbound, doing whatever he can to stay alive. Or Ducky, that is, that's trying to stay alive here. Unfortunately for him, it's not going to last long. The Valkyrie's discretion rips through the remaining portion of his health bar. Wolfie goes down right before that. And now the healing from inbound is crucial to keep Wowie and Sino in this fight. Sino looking for the backline. Fields of Love looking to help slow things down. But the good pushback there from Raffer is going to ensure that Sino not only can get his target, but he is going to get eliminated in the process as well. SSG looking to barrel down a tier 2 in mid, potentially find themselves a couple more kills. Inbound has nowhere to go. Vote looking to show what a late game Freya can do here. Even diving the Phoenix for this one. One more hit is all it takes. The tier 2 is going to go down, and they're looking at a very similar game state to game number 1. 30 seconds uncontested. They're going to look to run it forward, but their health bars are pretty low.
I don't think they'll be able to go for the Titan, especially with Wolfie spotting the next 10 seconds. With that right there is exactly the strength that Freya brings. I mean, hold down W, hold down left click. I don't care if they damage me back. I'm life stealing it all up. And I love the team play we saw. Once Cynosure jumped into the backline, tried to find the kill on the boat, uses his ultimate, uses his beads, but still the CC, the team play, the body blocking for Space Station, it was too much. At no point did it really look like Cyno was able to confirm that kill himself. And it's just after that, Cyno's dead. That was the main threat that Obey has. Let's gas pedal forward. And it seemed like Bobby and Wowie themselves just weren't quite ready for that level of aggression to get caught out on the backswing.
Man, and don't these graphs not only mirror each other perfectly, but show just the perfect story of this game. Obey takes a small lead, turns it into something, feels really good, and then it just jumps off a cliff from there and plummets down into Space Station Gaming territory. Now, I think a lot of it depends very, very much on this Fire Giant. Fire minions in mid already. It's going to get pulled here by Obey, but this might end up being a mistake. In fact, Ducky is isolated right now, killed almost like it's nothing by Raffer, of all people, getting credit for it. Now Nika able to jump into the backline, does get rooted and locked down, so it is at least going to be a little bit of pull, but Cyno goes in, uses the ult, doesn't get a kill. Dardes remains alive, now is going to be able to back and use that passive to get right back into it. Nika, one hit away, the Fire Giant for the assist there. He's going to be able to pass that one over to inbound, but it's the Valkyrie's discretion and votes damage right now. That is the name of the game. Can SSG continue this tear? Right now, the answer seems like no. Cheerio goes down thanks to Wowie. Vote is half health, and one good pull could do it, but inbound just off the mark. Cyno doesn't care. He goes in, and now they're chasing him down one by one. Dardes versus the world. He finds one, but he's not going to be able to continue this warpath, and Obey walk away with a huge swing in their favor.
Great team fight from Obey. I love the ultimate from inbound, able to separate the fight. Ducky falls a little bit early, but at the same time, he drags Space Station into this 4-on-4 engagement where they really weren't favored. They were all stacked up. They got hit by the majority of Wolfie's damage as well. I mean, it was a risky Fire Giant call from Obey. Completely crazy if you ask me, going for it on a 5-on-5 engagement, 8,000 gold down, but it works out for them, and now Dardes is the only one that can defend.
Well, he's doing his best. Ducky, dazzling offensive, going to go for the stun. That's going to be the ult from Dardes, and he's not going to be able to land in time to get a shot off. So now he's just looking to get away with his life. Wolfie doesn't have a lot of mana. Cyno doesn't have a lot of life. So it looks like the call is actually going to be able to keep the mid laner alone, especially since they need to defend this middle lane with all the fire minions coming through. But Mifflin, I mean, Cyno's having a hell of a game. 7-3 and 10, 6-2 and 8 there for Wowie as well. The damage numbers maybe not doing as much in their favor, but you're seeing it be applied perfectly for them. And that fight, I mean, it just gets out of hand for SSG so quickly.
It does, and now we're looking at a siege situation. Obey is slightly behind in gold, about 4,000, but they have Fire Giant. If they're able to clear out all these Tier 2 towers, the Tier 1 tower, maybe even confirm themselves a gold 3 if they get there before Space Station heat it up, that will be a huge swing in their favor. But the siege potential from Obey's draft is going to be very hard to execute on. Sylvanas doesn't have that traditional engagement that you'd like to see from maybe a warrior support or even a Geb where you can blink in and find that huge ultimate. It's going to be a lot more based on how well he's able to find that pool, because he decided to go these more team fight oriented relics. He went for Shell and the Frenzy instead of something along the lines of a Blink or a Heavenly. Now it's really going to be completely on Ducky to separate the engagement, and then maybe we'll see inbound this huge tree lumber into the engagement. We need Wowie on these towers. Wolfie's going to have a very hard time contending with the backline dive potential from Space Station, especially considering that really there's not much peel potential on the side of Obey barring the Sylvanas. I'm very worried for how these fights are going to play out. All I know is they need to start clearing out these towers, and they need to start doing it quickly, because Fire Giant timer is starting to slowly tick down.
Almost 2 minutes already gone off of that Fire Giant, and well, they successfully respawned to their Phoenix, so it wasn't all for naught that they haven't been able to take a bite at that gold deficit so far, and now they're finally going to be able to aggress Tier 1 tower. Should honestly not even matter to anybody at this point in the game. 30 minutes in, you can see that SSG looking to potentially mount a defense around the Tier 2, not something you see too often against a team with Fire Giants, so you can see the confidence and feel their confidence in the fight. Cyno's positioning looks like someone who wants to get into the back line, but Right now it's a stalemate. In fact, it's going to end up getting ended here by Space Station. Nika wants to jump in, and now it's going to be the aggression from Raffer trying to separate and conquer. Sino goes down in the jungle, and now it's a 5v4. You take Raffer out of the fight, you burn him down to death, but is it going to be enough? Ducky has no health, neither does Wolfie or Wowie. That's going to be a triple kill here for Cheerio as he just burns through Obey. Now they're looking to clean up inbound one last time. The Phoenix in mid is weakened. They have plenty of time to run this. This feels like a game-ending play. Cheerio is running the opposite way, but his team knows where to go. It's going to be for the Titan.
And they've got that weakened Phoenix in mid. That's going to be just thin paper standing between them and the Titan. Obey, again, just getting a little bit overzealous. The second they establish a lead, they move up. If you're going to draft around the sustained focus comp, have a Cupid, have a Sylvanas, use the Fire Giant heal. You don't have to commit to the first fight given you by Space Station. Space Station dropped a lot of ultimates. They looked for the weird engage on top of that tier 2 tower. Had Obey decided, okay, well, they used all their tools. None of us have really died just yet. We can back up, re-engage after we've healed, and then just have the advantage in the fight. But instead, they dig in their heels, the bend there. Sino gets picked in the side of the jungle without getting his ultimate off. Nothing really goes their way in that last fight, man.
It does feel like it falls apart for them, but I will say, at least in my eyes, a huge swing for Obey. Being able to keep SSG, of all teams, I think right now on their toes for 30 minutes there, and maybe not quite as long in Game 1, showcasing a lot of growth from week to week is going to be Obey. So I think eyes should be on them in positive light, even though they come out of this with 2 losses. It's a good win for SSG, but maybe also a good loss for Obey. So let's go to the desk and hear them talk about it.
That's it for this week in the FPL, and as such, Mifflin now has a chance to go do some laundry and get that Obey jersey clean maybe for next weekend against their matchup against Radiance. Wash this set off of it, Mifflin. Not the best look here for your score.
Vertel dan eens over nog een match gespeeld. Oh, ja, misschien weer zien. Oh, schuster. Toch zien op zo'n. Zo. Door. Allee. Oké. Open. Zo. Oh. Moest hij. Dat mag niet. Zien. Zo. We wachten tot als de cue popt. Ja. Yo, Jochem! Alles goed, man? Hoe gaat het ermee? Met mij gaat het ook goed, dank u wel, man. Eigenlijk er straks al een beetje SMITE gespeeld. En nu terug. Voor de rest eigenlijk niet veel gedaan. Op z'n zondags rustig aan. En jij? Jij nog leuke dingen gedaan vandaag? Ik hoop dat ik er hierin geraak in 2 minuten. Dat niet te lang moet wachten. Pam, pam. Mooi. Ook rustig houden vandaag. Ja, het is zondag, man. Lekker chillen. Gewerkt. Wat doe je voor werk misschien? Oh, en is dat open op zondag? Maar bij precies al moeten worden. Hoe duur is het eigenlijk? Het is al 1 uur. Zo. Zo. Ah ja, wauw. En moet je dan elke zondag werken? Of wisselt het? Ah nee, weer 5 minuten wachten. Oké, dan ga ik eerst mijn bureau aanpassen. Moest hij laat mijn kabels gerust? twijfel ik of dat buiten nog is. Ik wil aanpassen. Ah ja, dat is wel het voordeel, dat is waar. Dat is juist. Dat is het voordeel, inderdaad. Wacht een moment, ik moet even kijken. Ah, 2 uurtjes. Oké. Dat valt ook nog mee dan. Dat probeer ik het te doen. Cool. Oké. Dat is een video. Zo rustig zijn als DJ. Ja, tuurlijk. Het is sinds eind maart denk ik dat ik niet meer gedraaid heb. Alleen niet meer mag draaien. Inderdaad. Echt rustig nu. Ik kijk er wel naar uit als het terug zal mogen. Maar het zal nog niet voor direct zijn. Ik denk dat het niet voor volgende zomer zal zijn. Voordat we weer gaan kunnen draaien. Knapjes met chicken. Zit er nu bij? Niet in Massamu. Massamu. De M. Dat staat niet bij. Die wat eruit valt zo zeker. Op wat voor plekken draai je toen het wel nog kwam? Ik draai normaal gezien in danscafés en op feesten en vuiven, dus eigenlijk overal een beetje. Ik ben een allround DJ, dus ik draai wel van alles. Twintig seconden, ik ga hem opslaan. Close. Save, yes. Oké. Hopelijk raken we er nu in. Ja, ik draai waar dat ze mij vragen, ik zal het zo zeggen, maar ik heb wel mijn vaste plekken in het weekend en zo. Oké. Hopelijk kunnen we een jungle. Ik heb al zweethandjes, zeg. Ken de SMITE eigenlijk? Of heb je geen flauw benul wat spel dat is? Oké, we zitten erin, dat is al iets. Nu nog zien wat we krijgen. Nog nooit van gehoord. Ah, ik ken de League of Legends. Jungle. Oké. Goed. Dus dan dat. Oké. Thanks. Thanks, man. Nu hopelijk dat. Wacht even. Ja, weet wel ongeveer wat er nog een groot wordt en dat je verschillende houden in teams tegen elkaar vechten. Ja, in 3 verschillende lijnen is de bedoeling dat je de Titan van de tegenpartij zo snel mogelijk neerhaalt. Allee, zo snel mogelijk, ja. Meer kunt halen. En het dus de solo-lijn, daar stond er telkens één speler in. In de midlane stond ook telkens één speler. En dan heb je de derde lijn zo gezegd, en daar stond telkens 2 spelers. En dan de 5e speler, dat ben ik nu, dat is een jungler. Die loopt rond in de jungle. En moet ja, in het begin vooral zorgen dat er geld binnenkomt, waarmee dat de spelers dan items kunnen kopen. Ik hoop dat hun bets niet gepakt wordt. Of geband. Anders heb ik een probleem. Maar het is eigenlijk hetzelfde als League of Legends. Maar aangezien dat dat nog niet beschikbaar is voor de PlayStation, speel ik deze. Tegen het eind van het jaar zou het normaal gezien wel op de PlayStation komen, League of Legends.
Boom, laats.
Hoppa. Wow, ja, het klinkt ingewikkeld, en vooral dat ik het uitleg ook misschien. Maar ik heb eigenlijk door zoveel mogelijk proberen over opzoeken hoe dat spel in elkaar zat. En zo ben ik dat leren spelen. En ik moet zeggen, als ik een beetje een goed team rond mij heb, maar ja, dat is met alle games zeker, alle teamgames, dan ben ik redelijk goed. Ik heb de laatste 9 potjes, heb ik er 8 gewonnen, denk ik. Oké, zo wel man. Misschien tot morgen of tot een andere keer wel te rusten.
all look weak and terrified.
Ça va, man. Waters. Zo tegen een sterk team spelen. Maar ja, komt goed. Komt goed.
My wisdom will guide you.
Hi. 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 Good luck. Have fun.
Minions have spawned.
Thanks.
Enemy missing left.
Don't worry, I'm fine.
Oh, the game started? Sorry, I was at the gym.
Hoi.
under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy missing middle. Under attack.
You stay. I go.
Your right tower is under attack. Take this jungle buff. Your right tower is under attack.
Get back! Gank middle lane!
The end of the world is here.
Act like that.
Gank right lane!
Come on.
Can somebody report that guy?
Your right tower is under attack.
That's my boy right there. He can frag anyone. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone's surprised.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower is under attack.
Beware of the jungle man.
Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy missing left.
You should probably stop queuing with that twice the carnage. Speaking of killing sprees, we've got one coming up.
Your right tower is under attack.
No mana, hè.
This will scare even Shibalba.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Gank middle lane. Gank right lane.
You stay. I go.
Forgive me, master. I must go. Someone on the other team got owned.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Don't worry, I'm fine.
Can somebody report that guy? Speaking of killing sprees, we've got one coming up.
Your right tower is under attack.
Gaze into the mirror.
You gonna start getting kills too, or? Yikes! Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Gank left lane.
Sorry.
Gank right lane.
This will scare even Shibalba.
gonna be honest, I don't think anyone's surprised. 2 for 1.
Beware of the jungle.
SMITE tower is under attack.
Someone on the other team got owned.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower.
I have extra.
Enemy missing right.
That's my boy right there. He can frag anyone. Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Take this jump. Enemy missing left. Your team has destroyed a right enemy missing tower. Left. Enemy missing left.
Attack right lane. Right lane.
Your left tower. Retreat. Retreat. Retreat.
Defend left lane.
Your left tower has been destroyed.
You stay. I go.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed. Your middle tower is under attack.
Can somebody report that guy?
Your right tower is under attack. Help right lane. Help right lane. Help attack right lane. Missing left. Missing left. Your right tower has been destroyed. That looks like it might sting.
Yikes. That guy was a bum. You should probably stop killing with that guy.
Ja, retreat.
You should
Kost niet
probably
weg.
stick to arena.
We zijn het ook op tijd. Defend left lane. Someone is pushing left.
Someone on the other team got owned.
Beware of the jungle man.
Take this jungle one. Your middle tower.
Looks like you like a good beating.
Retreat right lane.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone's surprised. You're gonna start getting kills. Speaking of killing sprees, we've got one coming up.
Attack right lane. Retreat. Retreat. Middle enemy tower.
This will scare even Shibalba.
Yeah, coming. I'm coming.
Be careful, right.
Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped. You killed someone. Live with it.
Your left tower has been destroyed. Your right tower is under attack.
Looks like you like it.
Someone on the other team got
Going.
Jill, I am still here.
Retreat right lane.
Bananas.
That's my boy right there. He can frag anyone.
Retreat, right lane!
Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Tactical fury! Attack! Tactical Your fury. Team has destroyed a right enemy tower.
You stay. I go.
Retreat middle lane!
Double the kills, double the bills. Forgive you, master. I must go all out. Speaking of killing sprees, we've got one coming up.
Challenge me.
Someone on the other team got owned.
Attack! Attack middle lane!
This will scare even Shibalba.
Can somebody report that guy? Yikes.
Retreat middle lane! Sorry.
Beware of the jungle man. Oh my god!
Retreat left lane! Be careful left.
Bananas!
Attack!
You gonna start getting kills too, or?
Watch yourself!
Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Bye.
Someone on the other team got owned. Can somebody report that guy?
You rock. Nice job.
GG. Nice, nice. Verdiende sigaretje. Zijn we weer. Even zien. 3 minuutjes. Ja. Dat is niet een dag. Ik ga niet komen. Laatste match voor vandaag. Okay. Who should I ban? I'd like to play jungle. No, I play jungle, man. Who ban?
Boom. Bots.
My entry deserves a cutscene.
Boom. Bots.
You all look weak and terrified.
My entry deserves a cutscene.
Boom. Bots.
Stop. My entry deserves a cutscene.
Waar is er mis? Er is toch niks mis?
Hello, world!
Don't finish them too quickly.
Welcome.
Perfection.
Stop.
Bloody
We
brilliant.
got this. Let's go bananas.
Your place is assured.
Be sure to leave some for me.
Okay.
It is clear for all to see.
Cancel that.
I am the greatest. It is
Bloody
clear
brilliant.
for all to see. I am
Okay.
the greatest.
Cancel that.
Behold my
Thanks.
magic.
Thanks.
Cancel that.
I knew I saw talent in you.
Cancel that.
Cancel that.
Cancel that.
Cancel that.
Okay.
Whoa!
Group up.
Eat my dust.
Get out of here!
Be careful in the jungle.
Thanks. Ja, hiervoor ja. Dat is het probleem als je geen winnaars verslaan.
Get out of here!
You never forget your first kill.
Bloody brilliant.
Take the jungle buff.
Gank left lane. I'll attack left lane. On my way.
Your left tower is under attack.
Gank left lane.
Get out of here!
Twice the carnage. Speaking of killing sprees,
my
we've
magic.
got one coming up.
Cancel that.
Okay. I need the jungle ball.
Ja, ik kom.
You did well.
Get out of here!
On my way.
Gank middle lane.
Just need to check out.
My way.
En dan gang. Kijk ik.
Apologize? I'll attack left lane.
Let's come up. Get out of here! Boing, 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 boing.
I'm going for jungle buff.
Take the jungle buff. Take the jungle buff. Take the jungle buff.
Too late. Ah.
Gank middle lane.
Anubis, we go for buff.
Preparino, get out of here!
Did somebody report that guy?
Help middle lane.
Take the jungle buff.
Out of mana. Please?
On my way.
Hey guys.
Take the jungle buff.
On my way.
Ja, tot wel laat zijn.
Good mode activated.
Bloody brilliant. You're almost as impressive as me.
Your left tower is under attack.
Be right back.
Okay.
Take the jungle buff. Get out of here, noob! Take the jungle buff.
I'm going for jungle
Help
buff.
middle lane.
Mastery overall. Be right back.
Enemy missing left.
Attack left lane.
The very ground you walk bed.
Anubis buff.
I need the jungle buff.
Take the jungle buff.
Gank left lane. On my way.
It's hard.
Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Your left tower is under attack.
Let's come up.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone's surprised. Someone on the other team got owned.
Hey. Doe normaal, hè.
Get out of here, noob!
Ultimate is ready.
Get out of here, noob!
Forgive me, Master. I must go all out.
I need the jungle buff.
Get out of here, noob!
You gonna start getting kills
Take the
too,
jungle
or?
Be right back.
Okay.
Enemy missing middle.
I'll attack middle
Get
lane.
out of here, noob! Take the jungle buff.
Hem eruit. Jungle buff. Take the jungle buff.
Take the jungle buff.
Ja, dus die hem de werken niet.
That's my boy right there. He can frag anyone.
Ultimate is ready. Wait!
I'll attack left lane. On my way. Gank left lane.
On my way.
Yeah.
Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower.
Get out of here,
Yikes!
Get out of here,
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
I'll attack left lane.
Get out of here,
Anubis, your move is ready.
Take the jungle buff. Take the jungle buff. Traps for days. Get out of here.
Gank left lane.
On my way. Your middle tower is under attack.
You're mine now.
The dog is
Stop me.
Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Let's come up.
Your team has destroyed. Your right tower is under attack. Be right back.
Get out of here. Take the jungle buff. Get out of here. Work your magic, Ward.
Attack!
Enemy missing middle. Be careful left. I'll attack left lane.
Preparino.
Gank left lane.
Your left tower is under attack.
Gank left lane.
Attack!
Fantastic, bro! Someone on the other team got owned. You should probably stop queuing with that guy. Killing is rad. You gonna start getting kills too, or?
Attack fire giant. Attack left lane.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower. Attack the gold fury!
Perfection.
Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower.
Careful right. Please?
Sorry, mate.
Very ground.
I'm going for jungle buff. All will be forgotten. Be right back.
Off you go.
Help middle lane. Enemy missing left.
I'll attack middle lane.
Watch your step.
I'll attack left lane.
We need wars. Be careful.
Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Traps for days.
2 for 1.
Ultimate is ready.
Be careful right. Attack right lane. The very ground you walk bends.
Get out of here, noob.
Retreat!
Yes. What a pity. I'm going for jungle buff.
Get out of here, noob.
I'll attack left lane. Gank left lane. Gank left lane.
Speaking of killing sprees, we've got one coming up.
Attack!
Attack left lane.
Good mode activated.
Be careful. We need wards.
I'll attack middle lane. Your
Attack
right
left
tower
lane.
is under attack.
Retreat left lane.
Get out of here, noob.
I'll attack left lane. Attack left lane. Attack left lane.
right tower is under attack.
Get out of here!
Gank left lane.
Can somebody report that guy?
Be careful.
Work your magic, Ward.
That's my boy right there. He can frag anyone.
Attack left lane.
Say hi to the fountain for me, Bronzy.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy Phoenix.
You got moxie, kid. I'll give you that one.
Preparino!
That was easy.
Attack! Attack!
You killed someone. Live with it.
Attack the Titan.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone's surprised.
Retreat.
And
Help! Anubis!
Retreat.
You should have seen the
Right
A
enemy
paltry
Phoenix.
concern. A paltry concern.
Preparino!
A paltry concern.
Yikes.
Come up.
Your middle tower is under
Get
attack.
out of here!
Defend middle lane. I'm going for jungle buff. Thanks.
attack the Gold Fury!
Okay.
Get out of here! Three sniper hugs!
I'll attack the fire giant. You exceeded my expectations. Be careful. On my way.
For days!
Retreat.
Can somebody report that guy? Double the kills, double the bills.
Retreat.
Forgive me, Master.
Me?
I must go all out.
Mine!
Mastery over all.
I've killed this one. I was in
Someone on the other team got owned.
Group up!
Okay. Be careful middle.
On my way.
Could use this out on the grid.
Be careful.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Attack fire giant!
On my way.
On my way.
Attack left lane. Attack left lane.
No, fire giant.
Your team has destroyed a left
Bloody
enemy
brilliance.
Phoenix. Attack the Titan!
Come on now.
Okay. Group up.
Get out of here,
Fire giant.
Ultimate is ready.
Ultimate is ready.
Group up.
Attack left lane.
No.
I'll attack the Titan.
Pick up your feet.
Break your magic, ward.
Okay. Follow me.
Okay. Attack.
Speaking of killing sprees, we've got one coming up. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone's surprised.
Retreat.
Your
Retreat!
team has destroyed a right enemy Phoenix. About the world. What a pity. Fantastic.
Group up. Attack the Titan.
They won't be able to stop.
That's my boy right there. He can frag anyone. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and I'm the chef.
Attack the Titan. Attack the Titan.
On my way.
Don't worry, champ. I'm sure you helped.
Good
Attack
mode
the Titan.
activated.
On my way.
Ultimate is ready. Toodles.
War! Glorious.
You got skills.
Behold my magic.
GG! Alweer een winnen. Oké, dat was het voor vandaag.